I found my daughter sleeping in a cardboard box with my grandson shivering against her chest, 3 blocks from the mansion where my wife told me Merida was thriving in California. Welcome back to your ultimate destination for gripping revenge stories, family betrayals, shocking betrayals, and emotional justice. Subscribe now and join a community and tell us where you're watching from. Turn on the notification bell for our next story. Are you ready to witness the ultimate payback? Let's get started. Name is ZAHA. I'm 68 years old, and I found my daughter sleeping in a cardboard box with my grandson shivering against her chest, 3 blocks from the mansion where my wife told me Merida was thriving in California. The coffee in my hand went cold, not from the November wind cutting through downtown Chicago, but from the ice that flooded my veins when I recognized her face. That face. God, that face. Even hollowed by hunger, even dirty and creased with premature lines, I knew my daughter's face. I'd kissed that face goodnight for 18 years. I'd watched it light up on Christmas mornings, scrunch up over algebra homework, glow with pride at her college graduation. Now it was pressed against a flattened Amazon box, her body curled around a child who couldn't have been more than 4 years old. If you're watching this, drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever discovered a truth that completely shattered everything you believed? Because I'm still picking up the pieces. I stood there on East Madison Street, people flowing around me like I was a stone in a river. Morning commuters with their smartphones and their purpose, stepping over and around the homeless like they were part of the urban landscape. Furniture, scenery, not people, not someone's daughter, not my daughter. Merida? My voice cracked on her name. She didn't stir. The child, my God, my grandchild, a grandchild I didn't know existed, pressed closer to her, little fingers clutching her stained jacket. I knelt down, my old knees protesting, coffee splashing onto the concrete. Merida, baby? Her eyes opened. For a moment they were unfocused, defensive, the look of someone who'd been kicked awake too many times. Then recognition hit, and something worse than fear crossed her face. Shame. Dad. It came out as a whisper, then a sob. Dad, no. No. You can't. You shouldn't. What are you doing here? My hands were shaking. I reached for her, but stopped, afraid she might disappear if I touched her, like this was some nightmare I could wake from. Merida, what happened? Where? Your mother said you were in Los Angeles. She said you were working at a tech company, that you were engaged. Merida's laugh was bitter, broken. Mom said that. The child woke up then, huge brown eyes and a thin face, looking between us with the wariness of someone far too young to be that cautious. Who's that, Mama? Mama. My daughter was a mother. And I hadn't known. My wife hadn't told me. This is your grandpa, sweetie. Merida's voice trembled as she pulled the boy closer. Grandpa ZAHA. I had a grandson, sitting in a cardboard box on a Chicago sidewalk. And somewhere in the last few years, between my wife's reassuring phone calls and carefully filtered updates, my daughter's entire life had collapsed into this moment. I'm taking you home, I said. Both of you. Right now. Dad, I can't. Now, Merida. She didn't fight me. That's what broke my heart even more than finding her there. The way she simply nodded, gathered the few belongings stuffed into a trash bag, and let me lead her and my grandson to my car like she'd used up all her fight just surviving. The boy's name was James. He was 4 years old, and he didn't speak much. He sat in the back seat of my Mercedes, eyes wide as saucers, touching the leather seats like they might bite him. It's okay, baby, Merida whispered to him, but her voice was hollow. She stared out the window as I drove, not toward the North Shore mansion I shared with my wife, but toward my office building downtown. I needed time. I needed answers. And I needed to figure out what the hell was happening before I walked through my front door. Because my wife, Caroline, had been lying to me. For how long? About what else? My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. 68 years old, and I thought I knew my life. I'd built a commercial real estate empire from nothing. Came to America with $200 and a dream 45 years ago. Married Caroline 35 years ago. Raised Merida to be strong and educated. Or so I thought. When did you last eat? I asked, glancing in the rearview mirror. Merida's silence was answer enough. I pulled into a McDonald's drive-thru. Ordered enough food to feed 5 people. James's eyes lit up when he saw the happy meal, and something in my chest cracked at the pure joy on his face over a $3 meal. My grandson, thrilled by chicken nuggets. We ate in the parking lot. I watched James devour his food, watched Merida eat slowly, mechanically, like she'd forgotten what it felt like to be full. I couldn't eat. My coffee from earlier sat forgotten in the cup holder, and my Egg McMuffin might as well have been cardboard. How long? I finally asked. Merida didn't look at me. How long what? How long have you been on the streets? She was quiet for so long I thought she wouldn't answer. Then, 8 months. 8 months. 8 months my daughter had been homeless, and I'd been sitting in my office, closing million-dollar deals, believing she was thriving in California. And before that, she laughed again, that awful broken sound. Before that I was in a shelter. Before the shelter, I was couch surfing. Before that, I had an apartment. Before the apartment. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Before that, I had a husband, a home, and a life. A husband. James's father. Where is he? Dead. The word was flat, emotionless. Overdose. 2 years ago. I closed my eyes. Merida, why didn't you call me? I did, Dad. Now she looked at me, and her eyes were filled with something worse than tears. Resignation. I called you 17 times. I called the house. I called your office. Every single time, Mom answered. Every single time, she said you didn't want to talk to me. That you'd said I made my bed, and I had to lie in it. That you were done with me after She swallowed hard. After I married David against your wishes. The world tilted. I'd never received those calls. Never even knew she'd gotten married. Caroline had told me Merida was busy, thriving, happy. Sent me occasional texts from Merida saying she was fine, that she'd call soon, that she loved me but was swamped with work. I never said that. My voice sounded like it was coming from underwater. Merida, I never said any of that. I didn't even know you were married. Your mother told me you were dating someone, that it was going well, but she told me you said I was dead to you. Merida's tears came then, silent and devastating. She said you never wanted to see me or my bastard child again. That you were ashamed of me for getting pregnant out of wedlock, for marrying a man you'd never approved. Stop. I couldn't breathe. Stop. None of that is true. None of it. We sat there in that McDonald's parking lot, my daughter crying in my passenger seat, my grandson eating French fries in the back, and my entire world reshaping itself into something unrecognizable. Caroline had done this. My wife of 35 years. The woman who'd shared my bed, my life, my everything. She'd systematically cut our daughter out of our lives, fed me lies, fed Merida lies, and let her own child, our child, end up on the streets. But why? Dad. Merida's voice was small. Are you really taking us home? I looked at her, really looked at her. She was 31 years old, but looked older. My beautiful, brilliant daughter who'd graduated summa cum laude from Northwestern, who'd wanted to be a journalist, who'd had the whole world ahead of her. Yes, I said. I'm taking you home. And your mother has a lot of explaining to do. I didn't take them to the mansion. Not yet. Instead, I drove to my office, a sleek high-rise in the Loop where my company, ZAHA Properties, occupied the entire 15th floor. It was Saturday, so the building was mostly empty. Good. I needed privacy for this. My assistant, Jennifer, would have had a heart attack if she'd seen me walk in with a homeless woman and a child, but the weekend security guard, Marcus, just nodded at me. He'd seen enough in his 63 years not to ask questions. I got Merida and James settled in my private office. There was a bathroom with a shower. I'd had it installed years ago for those nights I worked too late to go home. I gave Merida towels, told her to clean up, that I'd order clothes delivered. While she showered, I sat at my desk with James on my lap, this stranger who was my grandson, and tried to understand what I'd missed. How old are you, James? I asked gently. He held up 4 fingers. 4 years old. That's a good age. I had no idea what you said to 4-year-olds. Merida had been the last child I'd really interacted with, and that was decades ago. Do you like it here? The big chair. He nodded, small hands gripping the leather armrests of my executive chair. Do you know how to count? He nodded again and started counting to 10. His voice was soft but clear. Smart kid. Of course he was. He was Merida's son. My phone buzzed. Caroline's name lit up the screen. Where are you? We have the Hendersons coming for dinner tonight. Don't forget. I stared at that text message like it was written in a foreign language. The Hendersons. Our neighbors. We were supposed to have them over for Caroline's famous cocoa vin, supposed to drink wine on our terrace, supposed to laugh about golf handicaps and property taxes, while my daughter slept in a cardboard box. I turned off my phone. Merida emerged from the bathroom 20 minutes later, hair wet, wearing a too large, I Heartsuit Chicago t-shirt from the gift shop downstairs and her same dirty jeans. She looked younger without the street grime, more like the daughter I remembered. But her eyes were older. So much older. I ordered clothes, I said. They'll be here in an hour. And food. Real food. Dad, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I stood up, James sliding off my lap. Merida, I need you to tell me everything. From the beginning. How did this happen? She sank into the leather couch, pulling James close. For a long moment, she just held him, and I wondered if she was deciding whether to trust me. Finally, she spoke. I met David my senior year at Northwestern. He was a graduate student in the music program. You never met him because Mom told me you wouldn't approve, that you wanted me to marry someone successful, someone from a good family. David was from Kentucky, from nothing, like you were from nothing, and I thought you'd understand that. But Mom said, your mother said, I interrupted, pieces clicking together. What else did your mother say? Merida's jaw tightened. She said a lot of things, Dad. She said you'd disown me if I married him, that you had someone else picked out for me. That Raj Patel boy, remember him? The doctor's son? She said you'd already discussed a marriage arrangement, that it would be good for business, good for the family. I'd done no such thing. Raj was a nice kid, sure, and his father and I had business dealings, but an arranged marriage? In America? In the 21st century? I'd come to this country to escape that kind of thinking. I know that now, Dad. Now. But I was 22 and in love, and Mom was very convincing. She showed me bank statements, said you were planning to buy me a condo when I married Raj. She had documents, texts, everything. I thought if I married David, I'd lose you. My hands clenched into fists. Caroline had forged documents, created fake evidence. To what end? So what did you do? I eloped. David and I got married at City Hall. I got pregnant a few months later. I tried to call you, to tell you, but Mom always answered. She'd cry, say you were furious, that you'd had a heart episode from the stress, that I was killing you. I never had a heart episode. She said you did. She said the doctors said another shock might actually kill you. So I stopped calling. I thought I was protecting you. Merida's voice broke. David and I moved to Milwaukee. It was cheaper. He was teaching music at a community college. We were happy, Dad. Poor, but happy. And then James came. And he was perfect, and I thought maybe someday, when you'd calm down, when enough time had passed. She couldn't continue. James, sensing his mother's distress, wrapped his little arms around her neck. Then David got injured. She continued after a moment. A car accident. They prescribed him painkillers. And he got addicted. Lost his job. We lost the apartment. I was trying to work, take care of James, get David into rehab, but it all fell apart so fast. And then one morning I woke up and he was just gone. Overdose in a gas station bathroom. I felt like I was going to be sick. I had nothing, Dad. No money, no family. I thought, no support system. I tried for a while, worked 2 jobs, but childcare costs more than I made. We got evicted. Then the shelter, then the streets. I kept thinking I'd figure it out, get back on my feet, and then I'd reach out to you with proof that I'd made it, that marrying David hadn't been a mistake, that I was strong enough to survive without you. Oh, Merida. But I'm not. The tears came harder now. I'm not strong enough. I failed. At everything. And finding me like this, you must be so disappointed. I crossed the room and pulled her into my arms. This broken daughter of mine. This survivor. I am not disappointed in you. I am proud of you. Do you understand me? You survived. You kept my grandson safe. You did what you had to do, and that takes more strength than anything I've ever done. She sobbed into my shoulder like she was 15 again, like the years and pain could wash away. James watched us with those big eyes, and I reached out to pull him into the embrace too. My family. What was left of it? And somewhere across the city, in a mansion filled with lies, my wife was preparing dinner for the Hendersons. The clothes arrived. Designer brands, rush delivery, enough outfits for a week. I'd spared no expense. Merida and James looked almost normal once they were dressed. A young mother and her son, not homeless, just visiting Grandpa at work. The food came next. I'd ordered from Gibson Steakhouse. Filet mignon, lobster tails, sides enough for 10 people. I watched James's eyes go wide at the spread, watched Marita cry quietly as she cut her son's steak into small pieces. Eat, I told them. Please, eat everything. While they ate, I made phone calls. First to my lawyer, Daniel Morse, who'd been handling my business for 20 years. Daniel, I need you to pull every phone record from my house and my office for the past 5 years. Every call, every text message log, everything. ZAHA, it's Saturday. I don't care what day it is. I need it Monday morning. And I need you to draft papers for a full financial audit of every account my wife has access to. Silence on the other end. Then, what's going on? I'll explain Monday. Just do it. Next I called my doctor, Helen Park. Helen, I need my complete medical records for the past 5 years. Every visit, every test, every diagnosis. ZAHA, are you all right? I'm fine. Never been better, actually. Or worse. I haven't decided yet. By the time I hung up, Marita was watching me. Dad, what are you doing? I'm getting proof, I said. Your mother told you I had a hard episode. She told me you were thriving in California. Someone's lying, and I'm going to find out exactly how deep this goes. And then what? Good question. What came after proof? Divorce? Public humiliation? Revenge? Or something else entirely? I looked at my grandson, face smeared with steak sauce, happy for maybe the first time in months. I looked at my daughter, still too thin, still carrying the weight of streets in her eyes. Then, I said slowly, we figure out how to fix this. All of it. We stayed at the office until evening. I wasn't ready to face Caroline yet. Not until I had my emotions under control. Marita dozed on the couch while James explored my office, finding my old globe from Syria. Where are we? He asked, finger on the Atlantic. I guided his hand to Chicago. Right here. This is home. We don't have a home, he said matter-of-factly. Mama says home is wherever we're together. My heart cracked. At 7 o'clock, I turned my phone back on. 63 missed calls from Caroline. I called her back. ZAHA, where the hell have you been? Send the Hendersons home, I said quietly. I found Marita. Silence. Then, where? I found her. And our grandson. The grandson you never told me existed. The grandson who's been living on the streets for 8 months. ZAHA, I can explain. Good. Because I'm bringing them home. And you're going to explain everything. Caroline was waiting in the foyer when we arrived. She looked perfect, silver hairstyled, cream cashmere sweater spotless. At 65, she could pass for 50. Marita, she said, moving toward her. Oh, sweetheart. Don't. Marita stepped back, clutching James. Don't pretend, Mom. Caroline's smile faltered. ZAHA, perhaps we should talk privately. No. You're going to explain why our daughter has been homeless while you told me she was thriving in California. Why you never told me I have a grandson. Why Marita thinks I disowned her. I was trying to protect you, Caroline said, tears forming. When Marita told me she was marrying that musician, that nobody from nowhere, I knew it would break your heart. I never asked you to arrange my life. Marita's voice rang out. I never asked you to lie to Dad, to cut me off. He would have hated your choices, Caroline shot back. David was a drug addict. He became an addict after the accident. After you'd already destroyed my relationship with Dad. I gave you chances. I offered you money if you'd leave him, get an abortion. The room went silent. You what? Marita's face went white. Caroline realized she'd said too much. I offered you a way out. Before you had the baby. You offered our daughter money to abort my grandson. I could barely speak. You offered her money to get rid of her child. I was trying to save her from herself. ZAHA, please, I grew up poor like you. I didn't want that for Marita. So you took everything from her instead? What would you have done in this moment? Drop a comment below, because I'm still not sure I made the right choice. Get out, I said to Caroline. What? Get out of this house. Right now. ZAHA, this is my house. This is our house, and our daughter needs it more than you do. Get out, or I'll have you removed. Caroline's eyes hardened. Fine. But this isn't over, ZAHA. You have no idea what you're doing. I'm choosing my daughter. She grabbed her purse and left. The door slammed, and the silence that followed felt like the first clean breath after years of suffocation. I got them settled in Marita's old room, exactly as she'd left it. James fell asleep immediately. Marita stood in the doorway, looking around. I used to dream about this room, she said quietly. On the streets. It's yours again. What happens now, Dad? Mom's going to fight back. Let her. She's got nothing. But I wasn't sure. Caroline was smart. Calculating. What else was she capable of? I spent the next 3 hours in my study, going through everything. Bank statements, emails, phone records. And I found things. Cash withdrawals just under $10,000. Payments to a private investigator named Robert Chun. A $5 million life insurance policy on my life I'd never authorized, with double indemnity for accidental death. Medical records, Meritas. From Milwaukee, 3 years ago. Emergency room visit for injuries from a domestic dispute. Stapled to it, a letter from Merida to Caroline. Mom, please, I need help. David's getting worse. Can I come home? Caroline's response. You made your choice. Live with it. I had to stop reading before I put my fist through the wall. At 2 a.m., Merida appeared in my study doorway. Can't sleep? I asked. Keep thinking I'll wake up back on the street. She sat down. What are you doing? Trying to understand what your mother's been up to. And I think she's been embezzling. I think she tried to arrange your marriage for a business deal. And when you refused, I paused. Maybe she needed you out of the way. Out of the way for what? I don't know yet. Merida was quiet. Then, Dad, 6 months ago, a private investigator came looking for me. Robert Chun. He asked questions about David's death, whether I'd considered it might not have been an accident. My blood ran cold. David told me something the night before he died. Merida continued. He said a woman had offered him $50,000 to disappear from my life. He said no. And then, her voice broke. The next day, he was dead. Could Caroline have done that? Could my wife be a murderer? We need proof, I said, before we accuse her of anything. How? We start with Robert Chun. Sunday morning, my phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Mansour? This is Robert Chun. I understand you've been looking into your wife's activities. How did you? I make it my business to know things. We need to meet. Today. Because your wife is planning something, and you need to be prepared. What kind of something? The kind that could get you killed, Chun said. And I have proof. I met Robert Chun at a diner in Oak Park, far enough from Wilmette that no one would recognize me. I told Merida to stay at the house with James, to keep the doors locked, to not answer if Caroline came back. Chun was waiting in a corner booth, a thin man in his 50s with tired eyes and a manila folder thick with documents. Mr. Mansour. He didn't offer his hand. Thank you for coming. You said my wife is planning to kill me. Not planning. Planned. Past tense. He slid the folder across the table. Your wife hired me 2 years ago to investigate your daughter. She wanted to know everything. Where Merida lived, who she associated with, her financial situation, her vulnerabilities. Why? Initially, I thought it was just a concerned mother keeping tabs. But then the requests got stranger. She wanted to know about David's drug use, his dealers, his schedule. She asked me to find out where he bought his drugs, who from, how often. My hands clenched. Go on. I'm not proud of what I did next, Mr. Mansour. But your wife paid well, and I have my own debts. He opened the folder. She asked me to make contact with David's dealer, to arrange for a special batch of heroin, extra pure, guaranteed to cause an overdose in someone with David's tolerance level. The diner spun around me. I said no. Chun continued quickly. I'm a PI, not a hitman. But your wife found someone else. Someone less scrupulous. And 3 days later, David was dead. He pulled out photos. David's body in a gas station bathroom. A toxicology report showing heroin purity levels far higher than street standard. A receipt from a burner phone. Caroline's handwriting on the back with a phone number and the words, final payment. Why are you telling me this now? My voice was barely a whisper. Because I'm dying. Chun said it matter-of-factly. Liver cancer. 6 months, maybe less. And I don't want this on my conscience when I go. But more than that, he pulled out another document. Your wife contacted me again 3 weeks ago. She wants you dead too. The life insurance policy. $5 million. She showed me your schedule, your habits, your routes. She asked me to arrange an accident. Maybe a car crash on one of your business trips. Maybe a fall from your office building. Something that would trigger the double indemnity clause. And you said. I told her I'd think about it. Bought myself time to figure out what to do. He leaned forward. Mr. Mansour, your wife is desperate. I did more digging. She's in debt. Serious debt. She's been gambling, using your credit cards at casinos, taking cash advances. She's into a loan shark for nearly $800,000. That explained the cash withdrawals. The secret meetings. The life insurance policy wasn't about greed. It was about survival. Caroline's survival. She's planning to kill me for insurance money to pay off her debts? And to keep you from finding out about David. If you learned she'd arranged your son-in-law's death, you'd divorce her, cut her off completely. She'd lose everything. Chen pushed a flash drive across the table. This is everything. Recordings of our conversations, bank transfers, the burner phone records. Enough to put her away for life. I stared at the flash drive. Evidence that my wife was a murderer. That she'd killed my daughter's husband. That she'd planned to kill me. 35 years of marriage, reduced to a thumb drive. If someone you loved betrayed you this deeply, could you forgive them? Let me know in the comments, because I'm still wrestling with that question. What do you want from me? I asked Chen. Nothing. Just make sure she doesn't hurt anyone else. And maybe, he looked away. Maybe tell your daughter I'm sorry for my part in all this. I drove home in a daze, the flash drive burning in my pocket like a live coal. Part of me wanted to go straight to the police, to hand over everything, to watch Caroline be arrested and dragged away. But another part, a darker part, wanted something else. Revenge. She destroyed Merita's life systematically, deliberately. She let our daughter sleep on the streets. She'd had David killed. She'd planned to kill me. The law would give her prison. But prison wasn't enough. When I got home, Merita was pacing in the living room, phone in her hand. Where have you been? Mom called. She wants to come back. Says we need to talk. That she can explain everything. I know everything. I set the flash drive on the coffee table. Your mother killed David. And she was planning to kill me next. I told her everything Chun had revealed. Watched her face go from disbelief to horror to rage. When I finished, she was shaking. She killed him, Merita whispered. She actually killed him. And she let me think. Let me blame myself for not getting him into rehab sooner, for not being a better wife. The tears came then, hot and angry. That bitch. That absolute bitch. I have proof. Everything we need to send her to prison. Good. Let's call the police right now. Wait. I caught her arm. There's another option. What other option? We could use this against her. Make her pay in other ways. She cares about her reputation, her social standing, her lifestyle. We could take all of that away. Publicly. Make her suffer the way she made you suffer. Merita stared at me. Dad, are you talking about, what, blackmail? I'm talking about justice. Justice is prison. Is it? She'd probably get a comfortable minimum security facility, be out in 10 years with good behavior. That's justice. Merita was quiet for a long moment. Then, what did you have in mind? And that's when I knew I'd crossed a line. The desire for revenge had turned me into something I didn't recognize. But I couldn't stop. We destroy her, I said. The way she destroyed you. Before Merita could respond, headlights swept across the living room windows. A car in the driveway. Caroline was home. And she wasn't alone. Through the window, I watched Caroline step out of a black Mercedes. But it was the man who emerged from the driver's side that made my blood freeze. Vikram Patel, Raj's father. The medical clinic owner whose business deal I'd turned down 5 years ago. Who was that? Merita asked, peering through the curtain. Trouble, I said. Take James upstairs. Lock the door. Don't come down no matter what you hear. Dad. Now, Merita. She grabbed the flash drive and ran upstairs. I heard her bedroom door lock just as the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Caroline and Vikram on my doorstep. Caroline looked different, harder somehow, like she'd shed a mask. Vikram smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. ZAHA, Caroline said. We need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. Then listen. She pushed past me into the house, Vikram following. They stood in my foyer like they owned it. I know you met with Robert Chen. I know what he told you. And I know you're thinking about going to the police. My silence confirmed it. You can't, she continued. Because if you do, Vikram here will make sure Merita takes the fall for David's death. I looked at Vikram. Excuse me. He pulled out his own folder, thinner than Chen's, but somehow more menacing. I have evidence that your daughter purchased the drugs that killed her husband. Witnesses who will testify she wanted out of the marriage. Text messages between her and David where she threatened him. All very compelling. All completely fabricated, of course, but... He shrugged. The district attorney is a close friend. He'll believe what I tell him to believe. You're bluffing. Am I? Vikram opened the folder, showed me documents that looked terrifyingly official. Police reports. Witness statements. Even a toxicology report with Merida's name on it as the purchaser of the drugs. It was all fake. It had to be. But would a jury know that? What do you want? I asked. Caroline stepped closer. I want what was always mine. Half of everything you own. The house, the company, the accounts, all of it. You sign it over to me tonight, right now, and we disappear. You'll never see us again. Merida stays free, James keeps his mother, and you keep your daughter. And if I refuse, then Merida goes to prison for murder, Vikram said calmly. And while she's awaiting trial, which could take years, James goes into foster care. You might get custody eventually, but... Another shrug. The system is slow, and you're 68 years old. Would a judge really give a child to a man your age? They had me cornered. They knew it. I could see it in Caroline's eyes, the triumph, the certainty that I'd cave. Because I would. For Merida. For James. I'd give up everything. How long have you been planning this? I asked quietly. Caroline smiled. Since the day Merida refused to marry Raj. You see, Vikram and I had an arrangement. Merida would marry his son, our families would merge, and we'd build a medical real estate empire together. But your precious daughter ruined that with her romantic notions about love. So you punished her. I removed an obstacle, Caroline corrected. David was weak, pathetic. Getting rid of him was a mercy. And Merida, well, she needed to learn that choices have consequences. You let our daughter live on the streets for 8 months as a lesson? I expected her to come crawling back sooner, Caroline said, and there was genuine annoyance in her voice. I underestimated her stubbornness. She gets that from you. Vikram checked his watch. We're wasting time. Sign the papers, ZAHA, or make the call. What's it going to be? I looked at the documents they'd placed on my hall table. Transfer of assets. Divorce papers with a 50-50 split. Everything I'd built, handed over to the woman who destroyed my family. My hand shook as I reached for the pen. And then I heard it. A voice from the top of the stairs. Don't sign anything, Dad. Merida stood there, phone in her hand, and she was smiling. Actually smiling. What are you doing? Caroline's face went pale. Get back upstairs. I recorded everything, Merida said, holding up her phone. Every word. Every confession. And I just sent it to. She looked at her screen. 23 people. Dad's lawyer. The police. The FBI. The Chicago Tribune. Even posted it on Facebook, Mom. It's already got 40 shares. The color drained from Caroline's face. You stupid girl. I'm not stupid anymore. Merida came down the stairs, and I'd never been more proud of her. I was stupid when I believed you loved me. Stupid when I thought you were protecting Dad. But finding me on that street, that was your mistake. Because now I have nothing left to lose. Vikram was already backing toward the door. Caroline, we need to leave. Now. Those documents are fake, I said to him. And now we have you on recording admitting to fabricating evidence, threatening to frame an innocent woman for murder, and conspiracy to commit fraud. I'd run if I were you. Fast. He ran. Actually turned and bolted out the door like the coward he was. Caroline stood there, frozen, watching her plan collapse. Then she turned to me with such venom in her eyes that I barely recognized her. You're going to regret this, she hissed. Both of you. I'll tell everyone what Merida really did on those streets. The men she slept with, the things she did for money. Go ahead, Merida said quietly. Tell them. Tell them what a mother's love drove me to. Tell them how you let your daughter prostitute herself while you lived in luxury. Tell them how you killed my husband and tried to kill my father. See who the world judges more harshly. Caroline's composure shattered completely. She lunged at Merida, screaming, hands reaching for her throat. I caught her, held her back as she thrashed and cursed. I gave you everything. Caroline screamed at me. I made you respectable. I made you American. You were nothing but a Syrian immigrant with broken English, and I turned you into someone. This is how you repay me. You're right, I said quietly, and something in my tone made her stop struggling. You did help me become American. You helped me build this life. And I loved you for that. For 35 years, I loved you. I let her go, stepped back. But you're also right that I was nothing but an immigrant with broken English. And you know what immigrants understand better than anyone. Family. Real family. The kind that doesn't abandon each other. The kind that doesn't trade their children for business deals. ZAHA. I came to America with nothing, Caroline. I can go back to nothing if I have to. But I won't lose my daughter again. Not for you. Not for anyone. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. You called the police, Caroline said, stunned. I called them before you even got here, I said. Robert Chun gave me everything 20 minutes before you arrived. I knew you'd come. Knew you'd try to threaten me. So yes, I called them. And I recorded this conversation too. I held up my own phone, just in case we needed backup evidence. The sirens were right outside now. Red and blue lights flooded through the windows. Caroline looked between us, her husband and daughter, united against her. For a moment, I saw something in her eyes. Regret? Grief? Or just anger that she'd lost? I really did love you once, I told her. I need you to know that. But not enough, she said bitterly. Never enough. No, I loved you exactly enough. You just chose to throw it away. The police came through the door I'd left unlocked. Detective Morrison, an old friend who'd handled security for some of my properties. I called him personally, explained everything, sent him the files from Chen's flash drive. Caroline Mansour, he said, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, and fraud. She didn't resist as they handcuffed her. Didn't cry or plead. She just stared at me with those cold eyes, and I wondered if I'd ever really known her at all. As they let her out, she stopped at the door. Look back at Merida. I really did think I was helping you, she said. I wanted you to have better than I had. Better than your father could give you. You're wrong, Merida said. Dad gave me everything that mattered. You're the one who had nothing to give. Caroline smiled sadly. You'll understand someday. When you're a mother trying to protect your son from making mistakes. I am a mother, Merida said. And I'd die before I did to James what you did to me. They took her away then. My wife of 35 years, gone in handcuffs. The house felt empty. Quiet. Like the silence after a bomb goes off. Merida sat down on the stairs, suddenly exhausted. Is it really over? Not yet, I said. There'll be trials, investigations, media attention. It's going to get uglier before it gets better. But we'll get through it. I sat down beside her. Put my arm around my daughter, my brave, strong, beautiful daughter who'd survived hell and come out fighting. Together, I said. We'll get through it together. What would you do if you won but lost everything in the process? Drop a comment and let me know your thoughts. The media circus started the next morning. I woke up to find news vans parked outside the gates, reporters shouting questions, cameras pointed at every window. Mr. Mansour, is it true your wife tried to kill you? Mr. Mansour, how long was your daughter homeless? Mr. Mansour, did you know about the murder plot? I closed the curtains and made breakfast for Merida and James. Scrambled eggs, toast, orange juice. Simple things. Normal things. The kind of morning routine that felt like a miracle after everything we'd been through. James sat at the kitchen table, swinging his legs, utterly unaware that his grandmother had been arrested 12 hours ago. He was just happy to have pancakes 2 days in a row. Grandpa, can we go to the park today? I looked at the circus outside. Maybe not today, buddy. How about we stay in and I teach you to play chess? His eyes lit up. What's chess? And just like that, I had purpose. Teaching my grandson chess. Such a small thing. Such a perfect thing. Merida watched us from the doorway, coffee cup in her hands. She looked better already, cleaner, healthier, more alive. But there was still pain in her eyes. Wounds that wouldn't heal overnight. Dad, she said quietly, we need to talk about what happens next. Daniel Morse arrived at noon with a briefcase full of documents and a grim expression. The prosecutor wants to meet with you both, he said, spreading papers across my dining room table. Caroline is refusing to cooperate unless she gets a plea deal. She's claiming temporary insanity, saying the gambling addiction affected her judgment. Temporary insanity? Merida's laugh was bitter. She planned this for years. I know, but her lawyers are good. They're going to fight, and it's going to get ugly. Daniel looked at me. ZAHA, they're going to dig into everything. Your finances, your marriage, your business dealings. They'll paint Caroline as a desperate woman driven to extremes by a controlling husband. Let them try, I said. I have nothing to hide. Don't you? Daniel's voice was gentle but firm. You've made enemies in business. People you outbid, deals you won. They'll come forward now, claim you were ruthless, unethical. They'll try to make a jury sympathize with Caroline. He was right. I'd spent 40 years building an empire, and you don't do that without making enemies. What are you saying? I'm saying this could destroy you. Your reputation, your business, everything. Even if Caroline goes to prison, the damage to your name. He shook his head. Are you prepared for that? I looked at Merida, at James playing with his new chess pieces in the corner. Was I prepared to lose everything? Yes, I said, because I already lost everything once. And I survived. I'll survive this too. The next 2 weeks were brutal. Caroline's lawyers leaked stories to the press. Controlling immigrant husband drove socialite wife to desperation. Woman claims she was abused, manipulated into covering for daughter's crimes. Millionaire real estate mogul accused of financial abuse. They dug up every harsh email I'd ever sent, every business rival I'd crushed, every time I'd raised my voice in a meeting. They painted me as a tyrant, Caroline as a victim. And people believed it. My phone rang constantly, clients canceling contracts, board members calling emergency meetings, investors pulling out. In 2 weeks, I lost $30 million in deals. But I gained something more valuable. Every morning, I woke up to James climbing into my bed, asking if we could have pancakes again. Every afternoon, I helped Merida apply for jobs, watched her slowly rebuild her confidence. Every evening, we ate dinner together, the three of us, and talked about our days. Real things. Family things. Merida got a job at a community newspaper, covering local stories. It wasn't the journalism career she dreamed of, but it was a start. Her first paycheck, $8.47 after taxes, she cried over it. Framed it instead of cashing it. This is mine, she said. Money I earned. Not money I begged for. Not money someone gave me out of pity. Mine. I'd never been prouder. James started pre-kindergarten at a local Montessori school. The first day, he cried and clung to Merida's leg. The second day, he cried a little less. By the end of the week, he was running into class, excited to see his friends. Watching him transform from a scared, silent child into a normal, happy 4-year-old. That was worth every dollar I'd lost. The trial started in February, 3 months after Caroline's arrest. I sat in the courtroom every single day, Merida beside me. We listened to the prosecution lay out the evidence, the bank records, the life insurance policy, Robert Chin's testimony, the recordings. We watched Caroline sit there in her tailored suit, playing the role of wounded wife. Her defense was simple. She'd been mentally ill, driven to extremes by years of emotional abuse and a gambling addiction she couldn't control. She claimed I'd isolated her, controlled all the money, left her desperate. It was all lies. But her lawyers sold it well. Then came the moment I'd been dreading. They called Merida to the stand. Caroline's lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Vernon, circled my daughter like a shark. Ms. Mansour, isn't it true that you were estranged from your mother for years before she allegedly committed these crimes? Yes. And isn't it true that you blame her for your failed marriage? My marriage didn't fail. My husband died of a drug overdose while you were married to him. Some might say you failed to get him the help he needed. I started to stand, but Daniel grabbed my arm. This was the game. Make Merida look unstable, vindictive. But Merida didn't break. My husband died because someone gave him pure heroin designed to kill him, she said clearly. That someone was hired by my mother. I didn't fail him. She murdered him. You have no proof of that. I have recordings of her admitting it. Recordings obtained under duress, during a highly emotional confrontation. Recordings of the truth. Merida leaned forward. My mother destroyed my life systematically, deliberately, because I wouldn't be her pawn. She let me sleep on streets. She let my son go hungry. And when my father finally found us, she tried to frame me for murder to keep her secrets safe. That's not mental illness. That's evil. The courtroom went silent. Patricia tried to recover. Ms. Mansour, isn't it possible you're exaggerating these events to punish your mother for perceived? I have scars, Merida interrupted. She stood up, pulled up her sleeve, showed the track marks on her arm. From the needles I used to shoot up when I was living on the streets. When I was so desperate to not feel anything that I became what my mother said I was, a junkie. I have scars on my feet from walking miles every day looking for food. I have a scar on my ribs from where a man kicked me when I wouldn't sleep with him for $20. Tears were streaming down her face now, but her voice never wavered. So no, Ms. Vernon, I'm not exaggerating. I'm showing you what a mother's betrayal looks like. And I'm asking this jury to make sure no one else's daughter ends up like me. She sat down. The courtroom was dead silent. Even Patricia Vernon had nothing to say. I looked at Caroline. For the first time since the trial started, I saw something in her face. Shame. Real, genuine shame. Maybe there was still something human in there after all. The jury deliberated for 6 days. On the 7th day, they came back with a verdict. Guilty on all counts. Caroline was sentenced to 25 years in prison. With good behavior, she might get out in 15. She'd be 80 years old. As they led her away, she stopped and looked back at me one last time. "I'm sorry," she mouthed. I didn't respond. Couldn't respond. Because I didn't know if she was sorry for what she'd done, or just sorry she'd been caught. Spring came to Chicago with unexpected warmth. The media moved on to other scandals. The reporters stopped camping outside my house. Slowly, quietly, life returned to something resembling normal. I sold the mansion. Too many memories, too many ghosts. Bought a smaller house in Evanston, closer to Merita's apartment, closer to James's school. 4 bedrooms instead of 7. 1 story instead of 3. It felt like home in a way the mansion never had. My business recovered slowly. Some clients came back, apologetic. Others didn't. I learned to live with smaller profit margins, fewer properties, a lower profile. Turns out I didn't need to be a millionaire to be happy. I just needed to be a grandfather. Merita thrived at the newspaper. 6 months in, she broke a story about corruption in the city housing authority. Won an award for it. Started getting offers from bigger papers. "I think I'm going to stay here, though," she told me over dinner one night. "I like writing about real people. People like I used to be. People the big papers ignore." "I think that's perfect," I said. James was at the table, carefully cutting his own chicken now. Independent. Confident. Nothing like the scared child I'd found in that cardboard box. "Grandpa, can we play chess after dinner?" "Of course, buddy. But this time I'm not letting you win. You never let me win. I just beat you because I'm good." He was good. Better than me already. Smart like his mother, stubborn like his grandfather. One Saturday in May, Merita and I took James to Navy Pier. We rode the Ferris wheel, ate hot dogs, watched the boats on the lake. Just another family enjoying the sunshine. As we stood at the railing, watching James throw pieces of his hot dog bun to the seagulls, Merita said, "I heard from Mom's lawyer." I stiffened. What does she want? She wants to see James. Says she has the right to see her grandson before she gets too old. What did you tell them? I said I'd think about it. She looked at me. What do you think? I watched James laugh as a seagull swooped down for bread. I think forgiveness is complicated. She did terrible things. Unforgivable things. But she's also still your mother. Still his grandmother. And maybe, someday, when you're ready, not now, but someday, maybe there's room for, I don't know, not forgiveness, exactly, but understanding. Maybe understanding that hurt people. That she was broken in ways we'll never fully know. That doesn't excuse what she did, but I shrugged. I came from a country torn apart by war. I've seen what hate does, what revenge does. It destroys everything. So you think I should let her see James? I think you should do whatever feels right for you and for him. No one else gets to make that choice. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, not yet. Maybe not ever. But I won't say never. Because you're right. Hate destroys everything. And I'm tired of being destroyed. She took my hand. Thank you, Dad. For finding me. For believing me. For choosing me. Always, I said. I will always choose you. I chose my daughter over everything else, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Have you ever had to make an impossible choice between what you built and who you love? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. 6 months later, I got a letter from Caroline. It was short. Simple. ZAHA, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know that I'm getting help. Real help. Therapy, addiction counseling, all of it. The prison psychiatrist says I have something called narcissistic personality disorder. That I've had it my whole life. That it made me incapable of real empathy. I don't know if that's an excuse or just an explanation. Probably both. I destroyed our family because I couldn't stand not being in control. Because I saw Merita making her own choices, and it felt like rebellion against me, personally. Because somewhere along the way, I forgot that love means letting go. I'm learning that now. Too late, but learning. I heard Merita got a journalism award. I'm proud of her. I know I have no right to be, but I am. Tell James his grandmother thinks about him every day. Tell him that when I get out, if I get out, I hope I'll be someone worth knowing. And tell yourself that you were a better husband than I deserved, a better father than I ever was a mother, and a better man than I gave you credit for. I'm sorry isn't enough. But it's all I have. Caroline. I read that letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'd show it to Merida. Maybe not. But I kept it, because that's what forgiveness looks like sometimes. Not forgetting, not excusing, but acknowledging that people are complicated and broken and capable of change, even when it's too late. Today, James is 6 years old. We're having a birthday party in my backyard. Small, just family and a few friends from school. Merida is laughing with other parents, trading stories about kindergarten drop-off routines. She looks healthy, happy, whole. I'm grilling hot dogs, wearing an apron that says "World's Best Grandpa" that James made me in art class. The sun is shining. The lake breeze is perfect. My phone rings. Unknown number. I almost don't answer, but something makes me. Mr. Mansour? This is Warden Phillips from Logan Correctional Center. I'm calling about Caroline Mansour. My heart stops. Is she? She's fine. But she wanted me to ask you something. She's been approved for a family video call next month. She's wondering if Merida and James might be willing to participate. I look across the yard at Merida, at my daughter who's built a new life from ashes. At James, running around with his friends, carefree and loved. I'll ask them, I say, but it's their choice. I won't pressure them either way. Understood. And Mr. Mansour? For what it's worth, she's really trying in here. Education classes, therapy groups, all of it. I've seen a lot of inmates, and I think she might actually mean it this time. Thank you for letting me know. I hang up and walk over to Merida. Tell her about the call. Watch her face as she processes. What do you think? She asks. I think redemption is possible for everyone. I say. But I also think you don't owe her anything. Whatever you decide, I support you. She looks at James, at her beautiful boy who knows nothing of cardboard boxes and hunger and fear. I'll think about it, she says. Maybe. Someday. And that's enough. Not forgiveness, not yet. But not hate either. Just the possibility of something better. I go back to the grill, flip the hot dogs, and smile as James runs over asking when we can cut his birthday cake. My name is ZAHA. I'm 68 years old. I found my daughter homeless with her child, and that's when I understood the betrayal. But I also understood something else. That family isn't about blood or obligation or control. It's about choosing each other every single day, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. And I choose them. Today, tomorrow, always. Thank you so much for watching my story all the way to the end. Your support means everything. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.